All right.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Day After Podcast.
Genevieve is eliminated, and now I'm fleeing the country. That's why I'm driving. Also, we have Adrienne here, who loves to torture me.
Very true, very true.
Yeah, we are going over episode 12 and finale part one, which that itself is an interesting thing they decided to do, to say the least. At first, I was opposed to it. I'm still kind of opposed to it because, like, like in paper, I think it was like, okay, interesting idea, splitting it up into two. It's not like it's just like two-hour stuff, so roughly amount the same amount of time. But now, just like we only get one more challenge and then final, and so it's kind of like either one or the other going into this.
Yeah, well, I think the issue is that in some seasons, I feel like there's two really solid contenders at Final Four. I think there's just one really solid person and then the other three. And so for me, I
Hold
just
up,
think,
hold up, hold up, hold up. I feel Sam
oh
has a
no, he
shot
doesn't.
here.
No,
I
no,
I
think
no.
Sam
feel
has more of a chance than Sue and Teeny, but I don't think he's at the same level as
I
Rachel
I
by
think he is getting the most second place edit that you could potentially do, where he's got a lot of content, but none of it is like particularly good content. Like
yeah.
it's just like it's kind of middle of the road. Like he's not really doing much in the game. I think clearly, whereas Rachel is absolutely in control of the game. Everyone wants her to win, essentially.
everyone
um,
wants her to win, but I will say this: it's like the fire making. That's what makes or breaks this thing.
but
I'm
the
saying Rachel has the most likely shot of winning by a large margin, but I'm not discounting Sam. There's like still a little bit of me is like maybe Sam could win this.
I'm just convinced right now that Teeny is going to lose fire making because her bag burned, and that's why they showed it in the show. Because her game is going to go up in flames, like her bag.
Uh, I don't know. Sometimes they just have things to include things like the
Uh,
All Ladies Alliance never really went anywhere.
yeah, but every time
hmm
that they do like a fire thing, like that person is usually in fire in some way, shape, or form. Whenever
I
they
feel like
really
Okay.
Teeny and
focus.
Fire is so random though.
I don't know. I could see her winning immunity and thinking I need to put myself into fire against Rachel, the best player, going out because everything in Teeny's game this
I
I just
think you're
don't see Teeny winning
hold on,
immunity.
Joe. I think you're just straight up just trying to be like, no, Teeny will give up immunity and do that. Like, no, no, no. I don't think they're that
I just don't see
desperate.
Teeny winning immunity, period. I think Rachel
Yeah.
or Sam wins immunity
Well,
and goes against
well,
the other.
no, I think if Rachel or Sam wins, I think they're going to just take Sue with them to the end. I think Sam
Yeah.
still would probably think that he could beat Rachel or that Teeny can beat Rachel in fire. Like I think Sue's like the guarantee, like bring along, and then Sam and Rachel are most likely to win immunity with potentially a teeny thing. But I really think that um a lot of signs are pointing to Teeny is going to be at least one of those two people doing fire.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Um,
I
but
think the smarter choice is for Sam and Rachel to face each other, but
yeah,
I
I
don't
mean
know
the
if
thing
that
is,
one.
imagine if
It's risky.
I can see Rachel winning another immunity, being a four-time immunity winner of the season, putting Sam against Teeny because she knows she beat Sam in the end, and then
Yeah.
Sam beats Teeny in fire because I feel like he's probably really good at fire too. And then bam, it's we get Rachel wins, Sam gets second with like one or two votes, and then Sue with nothing. I think Caroline's not even gonna vote for her. I think she's gonna
No. If
vote.
anyone votes for Sue, it's just like,
Yeah,
why?
I don't know. I feel like Caroline might give her a homie vote, you know.
I
I can
just
see if anyone votes for Sue, I feel like Caroline would as like a homie vote.
the thing is, and it's straight a little bit, but I do think the jury does decide a lot of who they think should be the first place and the second place person in
Yeah.
here. And if they're going into it with everyone already is saying like Sue doesn't really deserve this game, I feel like Caroline's more likely to vote with a majority, and then like the homie vote where they probably would say it's Sam, we get the Sierra votes for
Yeah,
him.
Yeah, I could see
fair.
that.
Yeah.
That is true. In New Era, we haven't gotten like a tied runner-up vote yet.
Yeah.
It's never been a clean. It's never been a. Yeah, it was. It's never been tied yet so far in the New Era.
Hmm.
But before all that, so yeah, Adrian and I were at Over the Edge Reality, and so it was a little tricky for us to record. Sorry, I'm also driving. I'm coming from set. But Adrian, introduce yourself to the audience because this may be the first time some of them are seeing you.
Yeah, so I'm Adrienne. I live in Massachusetts. I've been watching Survivor since season 4, but then went back and watched the ones before that. So definitely been following the show for a long time, and excited to be here. Ryan and I met in Big Brother Vanquish season 4. We're a little bit of rivals with each other, but
Yep.
met in person last week, cleared the air. We're good now, and I'm excited to be on the podcast.
Oh yeah. Once we were both voted out, we talked stuff out and we were like, yeah, we're good. At least until the next game. And until the
Yeah.
next game.
Then I'm
Mhm.
coming for you again. And
Same,
vice
same.
versa.
You, Miles, I'm calling everyone. Anyone who dared cross Ryan Neo Wayne's path will feel my wrath.
Oh
That
no, I'm
almost rhymed.
scared.
You
uh
should be.
well, you're really
Anyway,
selling yourself for future games, Ryan. Like if anyone sees this, like everyone's totally gonna want to work
Anyone
with
who
you.
was against Ryan.
it always is everyone against Ryan, though.
I
Anyway,
I
I'm not.
Maybe I had noticed a common denominator here in Ryan. Maybe you're the problem.
I know I'm the problem. It's just I'm just too. I just listen. This is not a therapy session. This is talking about Survivor session.
All right, back to Survivor. Sorry.
Joe, you gave her too much creative freedom. It's like, oh, you can make fun of Ryan on here, not make me have an existential crisis. It's been more than
I
one.
those were the best episodes, by the way. Ryan once tried to almost jumped out of a window, so if we get Ryan to have those kind of moments, I mean that's great
Yeah,
podcasting.
while I'm driving at night.
Yeah.
There's trains
Oh.
all around. Literally, a train wreck could happen.
Well, let's hope that that doesn't happen because we got some great episodes of Survivor. I
Yes.
really do enjoy Operation Italy in its entirety, the heist episodes.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought it was so much fun. I love when people on the bottom are able to usurp power into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge Andy fan, so I was like, heck yeah, Andy, make that move.
What is going on here? I don't know what. Sorry. I'm also driving, y'all. I'm bad.
He
But
said he's also driving like 4 times, like just constantly make sure everyone. We
I'm
know it's not
still
like
driving.
it's not like we can see you in the car with lights behind you. Clearly, you're driving.
Adrian, speak. Because all I can contribute to the conversation is I'm driving.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I think it was really just fun to watch that shake out. I question a little bit if it was the right move for Andy because I feel like he would have had a better chance if he had stuck with the underdog alliance. But I'm like
Yeah.
here for it as a viewer. But like if I were in the game and if I were Andy, I'm like I just don't know if it was a
Yeah.
smart move on his behalf
The
because I think he
thing,
would have had a much harder chance in the end against Genevieve and Sam had that worked out and that been the final three than he would have if he stuck. I mean, minus Rachel, but if he had stuck with Sue and Teeny.
yeah,
I think Andy saw a move and thought, okay, I should make the move, as opposed to like, all right, let me make the person with a block of vote mad. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah. See, I actually think that it was absolutely the right move for Andy.
Hmm.
The thing is it's the right move if you want to win the game. if you don't want to win the game, then you just try to get a little further and just call it a day.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
because
I
his
think had Rachel not been immune that round and they actually got Rachel out, it would have been the right
yeah,
move.
yeah,
But him like
She also
still
had the
sticking,
idol.
yeah.
right, but like
Yeah.
him sticking to it and doing Caroline, I was kind of like, meh, I don't know.
I don't know. I think Caroline. I do think that there's merit. I think that Caroline's edit makes it seem like she wasn't doing as much. I do think that she had very good connections in the game, so I do think it makes sense. Rachel actually winning immunity helps the plan because now it makes the person with all the advantages not feel like she's got to use them. And if you even think about it, I mean, we'll go into the like this next part. Um, if Rachel does not have that idol, I mean, Andy's move absolutely was the right move because Rachel goes out at 6. Andy is constantly in power. He probably ends up getting to the end and being able to make his case.
That's
Um,
true.
but
Yeah.
because of kind of like advantages that end up happening, he ends up going out in 6 instead. In fact, and he wasn't even intended to go out of 6th. Um,
No.
Do you think he could
uh,
have won the game though? So say Rachel goes, hypothetical, if Rachel goes that round when at 7, I guess, and then shortly after, and he sticks with Genevieve and Sam, somehow they become the final three. Do you think Andy has a shot against Genevieve and Sam?
I don't.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
Really?
I
I
think. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, I was just gonna say I think that Andy could win, but I also think that absolutely he wasn't going to stick with that as like the 3 to the end. I think
Mm.
Yeah.
maybe Sam would have ended up joining him in the end, but I think he would have still cut Genevieve at 5.
Yeah, Genevieve is tough to keep around. And I mean,
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
she's been the subject of like elimination for like 5 rounds at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's even tough to say if Rachel did go out that round, um, because Rachel winning challenges and whatnot, how if Genevieve would have won those challenges because
Mhm.
like that one person's there, or even like Andy, we don't know if Andy would have been good at that challenge either, or Carolyn if she made it that far. Like like
Mhm.
it's those little factors where sometimes people are really good at challenges you don't expect, and then they get like a
Hmm.
little stray win. So it's really tough to say, but it did feel like for a while, and like Joe and I talked about this, that it did seem like Andy was getting a little bit of a winner edit of where, all right, he kind of had like a rags to riches, is like, and Jeff even said it at the beginning of the part one finale. It was like he had a very rough start, but then he, really had a lot of leverage in this game.
Yeah.
Um, so, like there is a win condition for him, but it's whether or not they reward it to him or like it's
Yeah.
like who he has. Even if he faced off Genevieve, I think it's like harder for him, but he would have had a fighting chance.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he knew his perception. That's why he was talking to Rachel, trying to get someone to go to the jury who also was like saw his game essentially, so that someone could be on the
Yeah,
jury fighting for him essentially. Unfortunately, that obviously backfires because he has an idol.
Right.
But he was actually a very smart, intelligent player. Everything that kind of was happening up to the point of his elimination was essentially he was had a huge hand in. Um, so he definitely had a lot of power in the game. But the thing
yeah,
is because of that episode 1 blow up, he always had that perception of being a weaker player, which the fact that he was also mentioning that in the confessionals and the camera and like that was his strategy, I was like, they would include this if someone would potentially win with this strategy of being a perceived
Right.
ghost. Like they would want the audience to know that.
Right.
yeah,
So unfortunate for him to go here. I really enjoyed him. And absolutely a lock for season 50. 100% chance he's coming back in my opinion. Good chance that he's going to be the On Fire with Jeff Probst co-host as well for season 48. So
I can see it. I feel like there's a lot of good contenders. I feel like
Hmm.
Rome would be another one. I know
I
Rome is
hope
a
it's not
Rome's not
controversial
Rome.
for.
happening anymore. Rome's not happening
Oh, he's
anymore.
not. I
No,
haven't
no, no,
been
no.
following the drama of Rome.
Oh,
Uh,
Rome's drama is pretty bad. It's
Is it?
oh shit.
I mean,
I don't know how.
it's not like cancel culture bad. It's just like I don't ever see production wanting to involve Rome again.
Oh, I'll have to do a
Like
quick Google search after
last
Yeah.
this.
thing I heard is the potential leak of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
elimination. But
Yeah. Well, he
besides
was
that,
also trying to say like Kyle was saying cancel like things that would get him canceled out there, which were just the Tweedledee, Tweedledum stuff. So and he kept trying to make that seem
unless
like it
he's,
was racial.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
I
Yeah.
never was a Rome fan.
I liked Rome's like in terms of being like a villain. I felt like we
Yeah,
need a villain out there on Survivor. I feel like we
He
don't
was
get that as much.
entertaining,
Um
yeah.
and he
yeah.
also was originally supposed to be my winner pick, but someone went first, and then bought a cameo from him. So Rome will, despite all his craziness, will have a special place in my heart because of the pain and turmoil he has caused our dear Chaos Gremlin Joe Cave.
Yeah, yeah. In case you didn't know, we do a draft every season. I drafted essentially like the first 9 out of 10 boots. There's only one person out of the first 10 boots that I did not draft.
Oh my God.
It
It
was hilarious.
it was not hilarious. It was terrible. Never should happen again.
There was
I
a
don't,
lot of solid players who went in the first couple of rounds that like
yeah.
Yeah.
from the preseason press and everything, I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna go far. And then they were like second boot, third boot. I'm like, okay, just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think the season would have been even better if the first 10 players were actually the last 10 players. I think that that would be a better, if we just switched it up here.
Do you hate losing that bad that you would rather compromise the season?
I mean,
You hate losing that bad?
I think we need to see what that season's like. I'm just saying.
We can't enter the multiverse, or at least I can't. I don't know. Adrian, can you enter the multiverse?
No.
So you're SOL, Joe.
Well, we're in this verse and
Don't be the Scarlet Witch.
I mean I'm glad that we got Andy. Andy, even though
Yeah,
he was on your team, I was like rooting for him as if he was on my team this whole season because I just enjoyed his what he brought to the TV, his growth arc. So
I
uh
agree.
definitely sucks for him to go out here. And then yeah, also losing Genevieve also in that same episode, by the way, is just like
It was a gut punch.
Devastating. She was my
yeah,
favorite player of the season.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I feel like every episode I was like, oh, it's her time. There's no way she's getting out of this. And then she somehow always got her way out of it. So I was optimistic she had pulled it off again this time, but no luck.
How do you like Genevieve but not like me, Adrian? That is you literally described me.
I never said I don't like you.
I'm playing, but no, maybe that's why I like Genevieve. Like Genevieve and I have had a similar story arc, except she made it further by one, but still.
Yeah, not by much. Only
Yeah.
one. Okay, we have to talk about the Rachel Andy conversation though, when
Mhm.
that like basically got Rachel to flip the vote onto Andy.
Yeah,
Because that whole conversation where Andy was like, when Rachel's like, you haven't played well, the jury's not going to respect you, gave me flashbacks.
yep.
I was
Except it
sitting
was
there
kind of
watching and I was like,
reverse.
this is like me and Ryan in Big
Yeah,
Brother.
I gave that speech to Adrian. I didn't say they would do it. I was like, you need to beef up your resume. Um, but like, and I feel like that is something when you get deeper into the game, that is something like I don't blame Rachel because like she wanted to keep Rome around or not Andy around. Uh, and so she, like it was like she didn't want to get rid of Andy, but like after that, like
Right.
saying like, "Oh, I don't want to work with you," and like saying like, "Yeah, I'm voting you out." It's like, well,
And he
there's
was
no
like, "Well,
room.
I actually
Yeah.
have played better than you think I have. Like, I've done more than you are giving
Hmm.
me credit for." And she was like, "Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe we do need to cut you." So I thought
Yeah.
it was just interesting. That was a fun conversation to like watch play out.
Yeah, it was an interesting strategy from Andy because I don't think we've ever seen someone like that much jury management, like trying literally to send a trooper who he thinks is going out to Ponderosa to essentially fight for him. Which I understand, like from his perspective, the jury doesn't like him. The jury doesn't respect his game.
Hmm.
It seems like this jury actually is really against flippers. Like it does not seem like they were actually enjoying Andy, flipping all the
Yeah, it's
time.
like, oh,
So
Andy
Which is
flipped
which
again.
I find is weird
yeah,
because like the voting blocks went around so much during this jury
yeah,
phase. Like it's like it seemed like everyone flipped in some way, shape, or form at some point. So it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that does suck is if a perceived player who is worse than you ends up getting you out or going further. Like sometimes you go, "That's
yeah,
not how I should have gone," and I think that perception of him being so bad when they go out ends up making them really upset that they went out to who they thought was not a good player. It makes them feel like they're a worse player. That's why we saw um after Operation Italy, like they were Teeny was going on about, like uh maybe you were just like really bad at this game because they felt like they got by Andy, which is like, how
Hmm.
do we get got by Andy? Like that was
Right.
their
hmm
thought process.
yeah. Uh, but I mean, also like I know we're hopscotching around with that. It's like, but
Yeah.
like to even talk more about, because there were definitely signs from, I could see like signs from like Andy of how, Operation Italy could have gone wrong
Mhm.
because like, if you're worried about someone flipping, you make them vote in the like, like if it's like a 3-2 split, you make sure they're one of the two. So that way, if they do flip, they don't have the numbers to like send someone home.
Mhm.
But like, everything kind of worked out in, you know, their favor to make that happen. Also, the fake idol thing, Bot Genevieve, like, I wouldn't say like an extra round, but it also like that puts so much like validity into like, okay, like to make people nervous and like have
Mhm.
doubt in this game. And sometimes and to like jump forward to what Teeny and like Sue and everyone, like basically what those three were saying is like perception is reality. So like even if you don't, but people believe you do have a advantage or an idol, that's still dangerous. It's almost like you do, and some people will be like, well, implicit immunity is scary. So it's like, well,
Mhm.
let's not vote for them because they might. Um, yeah,
I think her coming clean at Final Five and being like, yeah, the idol is fake was actually a really smart move because it just like confused them even more because they were like, well,
yeah,
Uh-huh.
wait, if it is fake, why are you admitting to it knowing you're on the chopping block? And it was like
Yeah.
just watching Teeny's mind like try to process like why is
Yeah.
she admitting this to me was really fun and it almost worked,
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
made it.
Teeny has just been confused this whole season. Like any information that goes to her, I mean, she doesn't. She's been lied to so many times that's to the point where a truth is mind-boggling to
I
her.
know,
yeah.
I
It
know.
is.
I
It is.
love Teeny as a person, but just cannot catch a break in this game.
Yeah, I felt like Operation Italy, that episode, I think it was kind of damning for her edits. We saw definitely a negative side to her edits of her, complaining about Sam not taking any of them, or specifically her on the family visits, or
Hmm.
the family letters and all that stuff. Um, so and once I kind of like saw her reaction, I was like, okay, well, Teeny is no longer like I thought there was like this like small chance that something could happen in like an end game, and then I was like, okay, it's not, it's gone,
I think it's
it's
Yeah.
it's too
lost.
late now. It's
Yeah,
just like you needed to do something a few rounds ago, and it's not for lack of trying. I do think she
yeah,
has tried. She just nothing ever goes in her favor, which is
And
sad.
sometimes that just happens in the game. It's not even that you're, you know, and there's not really too much you can do about it because there are so many like random variables that happen. and then like everyone else also has their own game. Like I feel like if the vote didn't flip on like, Keyshawn way back then,
Mm.
like
Mhm.
she probably would have been in a power position going into the merge. Granted, that could have also meant that, they went home earlier as a result. But, it's like sometimes it's like your one ally goes out early and then you're like, well, what do I do? Or like, like even they target Rome early in the game and Rome just got kept on getting advantages. And it's like, okay, I guess we're working with Rome now. What can you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, it's just the way it goes sometimes. Also still going around, Caroline in her exit interview did say that she specifically told Sue not to play the idol for her at Final Seven. She was the one who was like adamant, like, you cannot play the idol for me.
Really?
Yeah, so very interesting that if Caroline wasn't at, like, I think she was just really confident and comfortable. And apparently she felt like she was not comfortable when she entered tribal council, but she couldn't know, she didn't want to like worry people by getting up and talking to Sue or like signaling Sue. Like she thought that that would be too sketchy if she returned to camp moving
Hmm.
forward. So
Right.
I think she just didn't have the pulse on the trigger. I think that's more. I think if you play Survivor, you need a little paranoia. You need to really
Yeah.
think that it could be you at any time. Otherwise, you're going
Yeah.
to become this comfortable
Overconfident.
player. You think everything's fine. You think you got the numbers, and then suddenly, bam! A pull pull, how do you say that? Pull out. I'm losing
I don't
my
know what
my
word you're saying to you're trying to say either.
plurality. I'm like I'm totally like spacing on what the word is. But I mean it's not the majority. It's a weird, like, it's a 3-2-2 votes. Um
That's too
I'm
much math for me.
I know your himbo brain doesn't understand
Thank
this.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Someone finally understands.
Yeah.
I've never felt so seen. Anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, Adrian, do you know what word he's trying to say?
No.
It's plurality. Plurality. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Plurality.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what the? I was for some reason I kept wanting to not say the L.
Oh,
um, but yeah, no, you always have to be ready for to get sniped at any moment in Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Stu playing that idol would have made that tribal even more interesting. I mean, that
Yeah,
round was so fun to watch anyway,
yeah,
but if Stu had
yeah.
played it on Caroline,
Yeah. Also, I mean, then
great.
Sue's edit would have been probably a lot better too. I mean, she needed to use this in a meaningful way. Her just kind of like
Yeah.
pulling it out at Final Five for no reason. Like, cool that you found an idol. Like that's cool, but if it doesn't amount to anything, like at the
Part
end
of
of the
me was
day,
hoping she was gonna play it on Sam
yeah,
this
Yeah.
round instead of on herself. I'm like, you don't need it for yourself. And like
yeah,
playing it on Sam isn't necessarily the smartest move either, but it would have like if he had the majority and she were able to idle Genevieve out, it would have been cool. But
Maybe
didn't
Sue
go that
thought
way.
she was playing a better game. Sometimes that's always the perception. Like, you don't know. I don't even, maybe she thought she was playing a better game and thought she was a threat to more people, which, some people do think while they're playing that because they know their game more than anyone else and they don't always
mhm,
know, they're not privy
Yeah.
to, what's going around. So, like, perception is reality.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, like, that is the thing that she can, at the very least, say at Finals Tribal Council is that, hey, I had this idol in a season where people were playing him willy nilly, um, or where most people played him willy nilly. I held on to it. I didn't feel like I need to play it, so like I never had to like use it.
yeah.
That's something she can say. I don't think it really garners her votes, but it is a thing to have under. It is something that's on her resume. It's not a big thing, but it is something to mention.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually have like a weird theory where, and which is why I don't think we're getting a Sam, Sue, Teeny final three. Is I actually think that if we got that, I think there's actually a good chance that on the island that Sue wins that game, almost in a Gabler-esque fashion. Whereas
Interesting.
Sam hasn't actually done a lot, even though she's considered a threat. Like he's this big guy who's not winning immunities. He's always seemingly like put on the bottom, not go things not going his way. Same with Teeny, things aren't going their way, so it's kind of not good. Whereas Sue is this likable person, who uh essentially wins through just being likable, similar to Gabler, where like Gabler's in-game stuff wasn't great. You perceive him as not a great player, but because of social ways. And I think this jury actually does care a little bit about like how people were playing socially. That
True.
I could really see. And but the thing is that the edits, absolutely there's no way Sue's winning the game.
Right.
So because the
Yeah,
edit is telling me that, I'm like pretty convinced that we are not getting that scenario.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there was something too, after the Andy vote where um, this was an interesting moment, and it kind of cost Genevieve a little bit of the game because that's what kind of like made Sam flip on her. But like the whole time where they're talking, it was like Rachel and Genevieve was like, "All right, it's either you and me," and stuff like that. Whereas like they were talking about this rivalry, which, to be honest, didn't really realize it was a rivalry until like they said it. Um, but like, the other three kind of felt offended. It was like, oh, so it was like the rest of us here are just fodder for your games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even if like in the sense of like, even if you feel that way, you try not to make people feel that way.
Right.
Like you don't
Yeah.
vocalize that. And I feel like Genevieve could have, especially because she was still on the bottom there, could have been
Yeah.
like, like so like no, it's anyone's game still, like, but bring it on, Rachel, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I mean, I don't know. I think that she should have still tried to have a little bit of like maybe she finds like a new idol, like, like maybe she could have like been told the truth to Teeny, and then immediate like 30 minutes later, like almost essentially hide an idol in front of them. Get it? And now like right before tribal council, essentially like create like a weird kind of tailspin scenario. And maybe something could have happened that way that would have helped her, but it just seemed like a little bit of just like, no, let's just see kind of where the dice lands, and hopefully it works out for me, maybe it won't.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I also think when Rachel played that, because usually, typically, there's one merge idol at a time. And
Hmm.
so when Rachel played the merge idol,
Yeah.
that made everyone being like, oh, so Genevieve actually may not have it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know, lying about an idol is always tricky because, like, once it's out there, and there's no way to like prove it because like it was a very convincing looking idol too. It's
Hmm.
like you
Yeah.
never really know. And so like that's just kind of like already in the air. I don't think it put any more of a target on her back that she already had. It was like, well, she's already a threat. Let's lie about the idols, see what happens.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and what I liked about the storytelling of the season is that part of the idol was used through Sam's idol that he had gotten a long time ago that he never used because he didn't want to
Yeah.
use it to like make Andy suspicious of him. So we kind of get like the story that ends up like coming into fruition later, which is always nice when you get kind of
Yeah.
like a long-term storytelling there.
When we get
Mm-hmm.
that Chekhov's gun moment where it was like it was introduced and it
Hmm.
was like used later on.
Yeah.
Right.
That is always we don't we see it every now and then, but it's like, hey, using an expired advantage
Hmm.
as a like fake advantage, like like I think it's a solid thing because some people look for parchment, some people want something that's like legitimate for it. So yeah, and I mean I think it's always tricky. Like they had the prop, they never had to like bring it out, but
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Let's see. What else is there to talk about? Um,
Um, there's a
um,
few. Just kind of like we're going back to a little bit on the previous episode, like choosing Andy and choosing
mhm.
Genevieve. Like for Sam, that was like one of the first challenges he's won. And so it's like, what do you really, like, especially on the bottom, it's like, do you really want to? I mean, it definitely worked with Andy because that gave him the opportunity to, like, at least, that was the foundation of or the Project Italian. Is it Italian job or Project
Operation Italy.
Operation Italy.
Yeah,
Operation
you were
Italian?
like, oh,
Italy.
you were in your own mind place over there.
Listen,
Close enough.
close enough. All
Yeah,
right,
I mean, it should have been the Italian job. Like that should have
the
been,
Italian job.
yeah.
But, it's like, it was a thing where it's like, I know like rewards, like sometimes you can, like, was it really a missed opportunity for Sam to bring someone else? Or like, did he need Genevieve there to kind of sway Andy?
I think that, I mean, obviously it's a little bit of now knowing how it went down, but I do think
Yeah.
that I think the idea of getting Andy is like, and Genevieve is like Sam and Genevieve can essentially talk to Andy. Andy can't talk to anyone else but those two who are going to try to recruit him. Um, Obviously it's going to make the other four pissed off and want to go
Hmm.
against them, but at the end of the day, I mean, Andy's able to think about it and was like, okay, well, if they split the votes, then we can have the majority. So it is actually a good thing. But yeah, on a surface level, it can definitely seem risky because it could just create a situation where it's like dooming Sam, which is what Teeny thought was what was happening. But yeah, definitely I think they played it well. I think that there was ways for this to go wrong, but also ways that it could go right, which we saw.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm also looking for parking now. I have
Yeah,
made it to my destination.
yeah. I was gonna
Full
say
circle.
it looks like you are at the parking phase of driving right now.
Yeah.
You're
But
scouting.
parking in my neighborhood is a mofo.
Yeah,
It's like to circle it back to Survivor. It's like trying to find an immunity idol,
yeah.
And sometimes the immunity idol isn't there. Uh,
Yeah, I parked with you, and you're probably going to be walking about 20 minutes back to your place.
more like 15, but like, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, but that also is a nice little segue into another moment that I thought was like, I feel was like a natural one, but it was like, Sue digging around trying to find idol, um, in vain. And then first thing Rachel does when she sees it, it's like, I have it. So stop.
yeah,
Hmm.
Okay. Which I think is a good thing to like let your allies know if that is the case, because it's like, y'all, I'd be mad if like, and this has actually happened to me, in one org where someone was like, oh, hey, here's the clue to the idol. And they actually had or they already had the idol on my tribe. But it was like, I'd be mad if I did all that work and it turned out to be for nothing. So it
yeah.
was cool for her to be like, and it built that bond, that trust. Like, hey, I have it. You're good.
Yeah. Also, now that Caroline is no longer there, I mean, Sue needs a new, like, she's a loyal player, so she needs to attach herself to another player, which Rachel essentially became that person for Sue. So
Yeah.
yeah, good on Rachel. If you ever are out there with someone that is literally known as a loyal player, if you can be that person where they are just on you, like that is essentially just an extra votes that you're going to get every
Hmm.
tribal.
Yeah. Yes.
Uh,
Sorry,
I
parallel
do
parking now.
I do feel like that's all anyone sees Sue as, though, is an
yeah,
extra vote.
yeah.
So I think she has a rough road ahead of her.
Yeah, well, the road's almost over. I mean, if it gets you to third, that's like what, 80 G's?
Yeah, it's
That's
like
not
eight.
bad.
I think it's 88,000 is about how much a third place person gets. So So I mean,
Tough,
yeah,
tough shit.
Yeah, I would take it, but
yeah. So
I mean,
it,
obviously go for the W,
yeah,
but like the same vein. I think I
yeah.
fucked up here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'd rather be like Andy and make a swing for the fences that gets me out at sixth than not make a swing and then just be a third place finalist.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna let you two talk. I think I fucked up.
He fucked up. Okay. Did he fucked up his parking? I almost want to commentate on like do a play by play of Ryan's parking right now.
I hate parallel parking, so I feel your pain.
Yeah, it's no bueno. But yeah, not a good chance for Sue. There's always the chance of Caroline going and like being a Sue advocate there, like because the person who could potentially explain Sue's game is Caroline. Like she's the only person who might
Yeah.
be able to say more to it. But as I
I don't
said,
know if it would work though. I don't know if she has enough pull on the jury.
yeah, I just think it's a similar situation to Caroline, where I just think that because she didn't win the game, that they're kind of giving her not a great edit, which makes it us feel like, well, she can't win because
Right.
she's also the only person left in the game now who has zero confessionals in an episode. I don't know if you know much about confessionals, but uh, in the new era, the winner always gets a confessional in every episode.
Oh,
Hmm.
are we doing the confessional count thing? Or
Not
no?
yet. I was just mentioning that Sue's the only person left in the game with no confessionals, or not no confessionals, but she has an episode that had no confessionals in it.
Hmm. What
Yeah.
episode was it? Was it like early on or a merge one or?
Yeah, it was a pre-merge. Well, actually, no, it was the episode 7. That was the episode that Tiana went home.
Hmm.
Yeah, so she went to tribal council that episode too and got no
Yeah.
confessionals. So
That
Interesting.
says a lot.
It
yeah.
does.
Yeah. In like kind of a chaotic episode where Rachel seems like she should be the one and now suddenly it becomes a Tuku pre-merge tribal. So yeah, not really looking good there. I think Teeny's edit has been mostly negative in terms of her gameplay and what's been going on. So I don't really see that. I think Sam's is just that, as I said before, middle of the road. Like I think it's been fine, but it hasn't been like screaming winner. Like it to
Yeah.
me, like he's getting a lot of content, but it's not like what I would classify as like winner content. And then Rachel has winner content out the wazoo.
Very much so.
The
I
only
feel
thing
like
that's
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go
No,
ahead.
you go ahead. You're my guest. You go ahead.
The only thing I feel about Sam's game is like as a viewer, I agree. Like I don't think he has done enough to win, but I feel like the jury right now sees it very differently and they think he is playing. I still think they're gonna see Rachel's game more than his if somehow they do both end up in the final two
Mhm.
together. But like or final three. But like I think the jury thinks he did more than he actually did. If
Yeah.
Well,
that
I feel like he has done sometimes surviving. Surviving is a lot that you can say where it was like I
right.
had
Yeah.
power in this game, I lost power, but even when I didn't have power, I was still able to make sure it wasn't me. I did play a
Hmm.
factor in the Italian job. I brought Andy back in and at least got him for one round and put some heat on him. Like
Right.
there are some ways to kind of like phrase things to be like, okay, I did this move and stuff like that from the
Yeah.
bottom, and that's why I'm here. And
Hmm.
I think the fact that he flipped on Genevieve too, and
Mhm.
told Teeny about the fake idol and stuff, put a lot of attention away from him. So I definitely think he has arguments he can make at Final Tribal Council. Like I don't think unless it's a unanimous vote, I don't think he's a zero vote finalist.
No,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, I was like I just kind of picture him as the second place. Like I think he's going to get Sierra's votes. But I also think that because he's perceived as this big guy who should be good at challenges, and he's not. If he doesn't win Final Four immunity, then he has no immunities. I think, especially some of the big guys like Kyle and Gabe, I think they're going to look down on him for not being able to win challenges. I know that Kyle, I bet you is a guaranteed vote for Rachel because Rachel beat him in immunity. A lot of immunity
Mhm.
beasts love to vote for the person who beat them because they respect the person who beat them in the challenge. Um,
Yeah,
so I can see like I think Sam's got like one locked vote, maybe two with Genevieve, depend. But also if Sam's sitting next to Rachel, I still think Genevieve will end up voting for Rachel over Sam.
Hmm.
So really, I think there's only one person who I'm like absolutely no matter who he's sitting against, he's got the vote of Sierra, and then everyone else is like kind of I see going to Rachel most likely. But maybe there's a chance that she goes out on fire. I just don't see it personally. I just don't really see that end up happening for this season. I just think that there's just one clear edit, and I don't think that they would just randomly give it to someone else who doesn't have a clear edit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I
I agree.
and I always like to give a little benefit of doubt for like I always like being like, oh, maybe this might happen, but in my
Yeah,
heart, I know it's like 95% Rachel's game, which is
yeah,
also why I don't like the whole two half finale because then it's like,
yeah,
well, now it's like very clear, whereas
yeah.
beforehand it was like, all right, well maybe Andy pulls out a win, maybe Genevieve just really gets a lot more good content, have a solid end game,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
now it's
Yeah,
just like one more challenge, fire making, and then
Right.
okay,
Like at Final Six, there
FTC.
were still a lot of people in that could have won.
yeah.
Yeah,
We
But
we
now it's like there if
yeah.
Rachel doesn't win, like this season was for nothing.
Yeah, we pretty much lost the second and third most likely people to win. And so because of that, now there's just this giant deficit between them, which if this was 46, I actually think we wouldn't be having this conversation about like, oh, it's too like one-sided. Like, because I think Kenzie
yeah,
and Charlie were people who I could
very
see
even.
winning the game. I think that they both had
Hmm.
potentially good edits for that. But yeah, I just don't think that they gave one of these final four besides Rachel like a really solid like I see them winning edits. It's been pretty lackluster in terms of that. So the fact that we got to wait a week for essentially a victory lap of Rachel
Yeah,
winning the game does
Hmm.
does does sting a little bit.
I mean, I think this is another thing too, because I think this is another part of like the modern thing. I do wonder if they did this because they have like some other stuff they want to like other programming or something like that that they were trying to because they did it kind of weird and it did seem like a last minute announcement as well. Whereas I think it's one of those things where once you see it on streaming, it doesn't bother you as much.
Mhm.
But I think it's like when you're in the moment, obviously, and you have to wait, it becomes more of a drag. Not as
Yeah.
bad as the 41 hourglass twist. That
Yeah.
one is regarded as one of the worst episodes in Survivor history. But like,
Easily bottom five at least.
not even that. Like IMDb, it's even ranked as one of the lowest ones, and that says a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I was Adrian, I was furious when that
Mm.
episode happened. It was not a good time to be a Survivor fan. I was
Yeah.
I was so upset. uh,
I
no,
feel like they have finally figured out the twists and advantages of the new era. It took a few
yeah,
seasons. It was like way too much
yeah,
all at once in the first few seasons of the new era. Now it's
yeah.
finally like a good balance of
Mhm.
advantages, but not like ones that are going to completely change the course of the game.
Yeah, I think it almost reminds me a lot of the seasons 21 to 24 of like Survivor where like they're kind of not great. It's like they're kind of like considered the dark ages
this
of
is where I
the
got it from.
Italian. He's got the Italian job. We got to change it now to Operation Italy and then take a photo of
No,
it.
they need to change it. I need to go back in time.
I'm pretty sure that they probably just didn't do it because they'd have to get the clearance rights for the name of the Italian
Yeah, they
job.
were like
Yeah.
because Mark Burnett is like frequents at the Fijian 7-Eleven.
I forgot what I was talking about.
We got distracted by
Yeah,
the Italian
I
job.
the Italian jobs struck
That's
again.
where I got it from.
Oh, we were
Uh,
talking about how it is like seasons 20 to
Oh yeah.
24.
Yeah. So it's like seasons 21, 24. They're kind of like the dark ages of Survivor, not because they came after this all-star season that was well regarded. And then it kind of took a while to kind of like find its footing again. 25 comes in and it's like we start seeing kind of like the come up again of Survivor. I
Mm-hmm.
feel 45 is a similar situation where like I think we saw kind of like a come up of what Survivor can be. And I feel like we're now like going back to a little bit of what we enjoy about Survivor, whereas seasons 41 to 44, there's a lot of things to not really like, and they're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
they threw so many things
It
at
was
the
too much. It was like, let's throw everything at the wall and see what
yeah.
sticks. And it was just
Yeah, because
overkill.
they had
Yeah.
over a year of ideas that they just were sitting on, and they just felt like they needed to just throw a bunch of them out there, even though they were all really bad. Like most of
Yeah.
them were really bad. Well, like Hourglass and Do or Die, which were top of the list for them, which is wild.
Yeah.
Right.
Good one.
But
It's also crazy with the whole hourglass twist that like she ended up winning this season because like at that episode I was like,
Yes.
there's no way Erica's winning, and then I
yeah,
was like, oh, actually you are.
yeah. But I mean, it takes a lot of luck to win Survivor. Rachel, great player, incredible amount of luck that has been befallen
Yeah.
her this season
Oh
of
yeah.
having Soul get the safety without power. He only had one real option to give it to, which was Rachel, because that would change up the game. So he
I
gives it to
forgot
her,
about that
Yes.
episode. Yeah,
saves her. She was going out that episode.
she was.
Then she gets lucky enough to have bought the auction item that has the clue to the idol that only she will now know about, which ends up saving her at final six, where she would have gone home.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
like I think she's played a great game, but it's like don't get me wrong, but definitely has needed the grace of the survivor gods to get her to this point.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I mean, in any of these games, there's always going to be some like
Yeah.
RNG and luck. Even the greats, like some of the old legends will tell you that. But I think it's also like not only sometimes it's not even like the luck involved and stuff, but it's also like how you do it too. Because
Mhm.
like, and this could be me, as both you know, I do like Flash when it comes to players and stuff like that. And she's had a very flashy season.
Mhm.
Like, like the entire like merge for her has been nothing but like a big fireworks display of like everyone in ooh and ah.
It's
And the
interesting
audience is
to me
eating
though
it
how
up
like
too.
nobody really saw the Flash like in the game. Like I feel like
Mhm.
as viewers we were like, wow, Rachel's playing really well, but
Yeah.
nobody was like talking about her being a threat until the last few episodes when it was kind of too late at that point to
Well,
do anything about it.
Well, they actually did bring her up as a threat in the episode Tiana Goes Home. That's like when we started seeing Gabe was like, she's the biggest threat in this game. Like things of like that started happening. And then it disappeared, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
reminded me a lot of the Erica edit of 41. And I've actually kind of
Mm.
referred that she feels like a bigger Erica edit in the sense that early on in the game, someone says she's this big threat that they need to take out, and then she doesn't go out there, and then it just like vanishes, and then suddenly it's
Hmm.
like late in the game,
Yeah.
and then that player just ends up dominating the game and ends up winning. Whereas
Yeah.
but at least in this, Rachel got a little more focus throughout it, instead of just being like a
Yeah. I just feel
final
like it was
few
always like, oh,
episodes.
Kyle's
Yeah.
a threat because he keeps winning immunity, and
Yeah.
like Genevieve's a threat because she's influenced all these votes. Like it was always somebody else was like a bigger threat than Rachel.
Hmm.
And now they're like, oh, we probably should have taken her out, and we can't because now she keeps winning.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, it's
exactly.
like once the big challenge piece is gone, it's like sometimes there's a power vacuum and it's like who fills the void? And, I think it's like one of the things where she was able to fill that void and she
Hmm.
had just the right amount of stuff behind her. And also, I know we've been talking about the luck, the advantages, and all that stuff, but let's not forget she's also played a really great social game too.
Hmm.
And all the luck and advantages can get you the end, and that's cool and all. But if your social game is shit, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that could cost you the win.
I actually didn't like Rachel the first few episodes of this season. I was
Mhm.
like, I found her annoying, and I was just like, she's never gonna make it very far because I thought that
Mhm.
other people also were gonna find her annoying. And I feel like socially she wasn't the strongest the first few days out on the island. And then like all of a sudden I was like, where did this player come from? And she's just like continued
Yeah.
to do these crazy things and I feel like her story's been really fun to watch.
Yeah,
Agreed.
her well, the Tiana Boots, like that episode onwards, like her edit has just like skyrocketed.
Yeah.
She had a really good premiere actually. Like she calmed down Andy, and they established kind of like that relationship a little bit, and with Sam. But then it like disappeared because I think in game Rachel actually was closer to Annika, who ends up going out pre-merge. So they kind of like there wasn't much gain that Rachel was doing pre-merge
Mm-hmm.
after that. And then yeah, the second that uh it was like someone said that she's the threat, it was just like bam, she's this, power
Over.
player.
Yeah.
And an unexpected challenge beast. I think if
Mm-hmm.
preseason I would say maybe she's going to win a challenge, like an immunity challenge. But going three, I see her potentially winning four challenges. Like I don't think
That'd be so dope.
I wouldn't have seen that happening
No.
preseason.
I would never say that she was gonna be like this
Yeah,
comp beast at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's what we
so
said about Chrissy way back when in 35, but you know, she will tie if she does, she will tie for um most challenges by a woman in a season or individual immunity challenges, I should say.
yep.
Hmm.
So
Have
she's
the
just
re-
one away for being on that being in that list.
Yeah, and tie the record in the new era for challenge wins with Kyle on the same
Yeah.
season. So, and I think that her challenge wins are more credible than Kyle's. Kyle's had a lot of split vote or split group stuff going on, whereas
Hmm.
Rachel has actually had to be the main one winning them. So,
I
I
also feel
will
like
say,
the ones Rachel wins are like more diverse skill sets. Like
mhm,
it's not like all
yeah,
one type of challenge where Kyle's all felt very
yeah.
like the
balance.
balance
Yeah.
ones. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
How can
These
you
were a
balance
lot
things
less
on
diverse.
how can you balance balls on whatever thing they give you?
Right. I was like, okay, we've done this before in just a different
Yeah.
variation. Like this is not original. But then like the last few episodes have been a little more unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you think the game makers that have been doing this for over 20 years
Hmm.
would
Yeah.
know how to, but I would say there is a lot of endurance in the like first stage of it because I think
Yeah.
it's tougher to build like obstacle courses for like, you know,
Yeah.
13 people as opposed to like, all right, just balance on this beam, which is easier to make.
Yeah. I wish they'd
So,
bring back some like interesting things, like some kind of trivia or like stuff about like answering things that the cast has
I
answered, like the
loved
jury.
those
Yeah,
ones.
I just think that
yeah.
that's so
Where you like chop
simple.
the ropes when you get it right.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Touchy
Touchy
subjects.
subject.
Touchy
Yeah,
subjects. Like,
those are fun.
yeah, exactly. I think that we should be getting some challenges like that in the early stages of the merge because I feel like at least that
Yeah.
would make it feel a little different. And I think that there are things that you can easily do. I mean, it's I like obviously, yeah, you can't do obstacle courses until around like 6 or 7,
Hmm.
typically. So yeah, throw in some other unique ways around like the 10 9 mark as
Bring
well.
back touchy subjects for season 50.
Yeah, we did we petitioned for the auction. Let's petition for touchy
I'm
subjects.
so happy the auction came back. I know people have mixed feelings about it because it's very different than it used to be, but I really am
Yeah.
just glad to see it
Yeah,
back.
I think any iteration of the auction is great.
Yeah.
I enjoy old auctions, but like I'm just happy that we have it, and I'm going to appreciate that we still get to see people freak out about food.
Hmm.
100%. No. Uh, okay. So trying to think of any other thing that happened that's worth noting.
Teeny got drunk again, and spilled the
She,
beans for Jenny's idol.
That was
which I
fun.
mean worked in Jen's favor. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, in that moment, it worked in Jen's favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said some quote that was like, I forget how she worded it, but basically like keep talking about how real this fake idol is or something. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah.
much what Teeny's doing right now. It's like you spilled the beans about an idol that everyone thinks is real, and it's like just helping Genevieve even more.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And to even mention like, her 23-year-old experience is kind of really showing out there on Survivor.
Yeah.
Everyone else is a little more has more life experience, and I think it's just becoming pretty evident
Yeah.
as the season has progressed. Which is always the tough thing about being like in your early 20s going out there to Survivor. You're going to not be as aware of a lot of things. You're going to be a lot more trusting usually. But when you build up more life experiences, you can detect lies usually better. You can figure out like what makes sense actually and what seems like what BS am I getting. And so whenever there's like a 20-year-old that goes out there and makes it somewhat far, I
Yeah.
do kind of want to see them come back like in like
Early 20s.
yeah, early
Yeah.
20s, like 6 or 8 years later, almost let them get a lot of experience and then come back essentially as like a new person. Like
Yeah.
Xander is someone who I almost kind of want to see, maybe not season 50. I don't necessarily want to see him on season 50, but I do kind of want to see Xander come back at some point because I think he could be a good player. I think he just was out there way too early.
I do want to have a little fun little anecdote about Xander because he was at the event Adrienne and I were at. Uh, he has definitely grown up.
Mhm.
And
Cut
I was
his
wearing a
hair. He
Demon.
looks so
He
different.
cut his hair. He also saw my Demon like Slayer shirt of Gyojiro Rengoku, and we bonded over that. And, like, bro, the guy is like you, except I'm not gonna spoil shit about the show, but it's like this guy is like you, honorable stuff like that. You can't like coming back. I don't know what the parameters are for 50, but you know, we'll see. But kind of like back to the whole being drunk thing. Also, let me turn on the light for this because I'm finally home. Teeny is teeny, and therefore alcohol will affect them a bit more.
Mhm.
Uh,
Hmm.
because
Yet they
like
still
Especially
choose
with
to
like
drink
not
full bottles of
eating a
wine.
whole lot.
Yeah.
where it's like, well, it's free booze and it's a reward.
Yeah.
Plus there was food, so like I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like something always happens every time Teeny goes on these rewards and drinks. It's just always ends up either being asleep at the wheel or spilling something.
Yeah, it was funny.
So yeah, um,
Survivor, even though that's like half the org community.
mhm.
I think the other
Yeah.
fun part to watch play out was like when Rachel was listening in, like after the
Yes,
first tribal council, and like the four of them were
Yeah.
just like on the beach, and she was just sitting there listening to the whole thing, and they had no idea. I was like, that was
yeah,
just fun to watch.
pulling a Tony Vlachos, her little spy shack.
Yeah, and she's like not really
Yeah.
even hiding herself other than it just being dark, but she was like
Yeah,
kind of out in the open, just
yeah,
like, I'm here. I can hear everything you're saying. That was
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I love the
I would
editing
be
too
looking
of it
around.
going to black. The screen went black to kind of like show like how dark it is. That was
Yeah.
cool little editing thing.
I would always be listening around for the cameramen. Like
Hmm.
it's a little
Right.
meta, but obviously it's like you see other people other than contestants.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
They're not all going to be getting B-roll of wildlife. It's like,
yeah,
Right.
um,
yeah. It's
obviously, I'm sure they're trained to not like compromise someone's like position easily, but still.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point
yeah.
though.
I think I have heard like people seeing a cameraman go off somewhere, and then they kind of know something is happening somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the nature of the game. I think is like like if you have a giant camera and sound and everything, uh, it's gonna be hard to sneak around the island.
100.
100%.
Yeah. What do you got, Ryan? Let's have a little snack review, a little food
The
review.
Italian
Okay.
job.
Okay.
Operation Italy.
This is now a food
Uh,
review of the Italian job. So
I
let's
have this all the time from there, which is probably why I confused it. All right, so I'm gonna talk to the owner and be like, we need to call it Operation Italy. So what's on this stuff? Uh, ham, Genoa salami, pepperoni, provolone cheese, pepperoncini, pepperoncini, and a zesty reduced fat mayonnaise on a sub roll.
Zesty mayo.
okay.
Zesty reduced fat mayo.
Okay. Gotta watch your figure. Okay, let's get this bite. Okay. He seems into it. He seems into it. How you feeling?
It's
How's
very on
the
brand for this episode discussion.
I like tasting the different meats. I think they complement each other very well. The reduced fat, I think, stays out more than like the regular fat one. It's a nice mouthfeel. Like I feel like the bread and everything complements each other. There's also like this satisfaction that like, it's a simple meal. Like you're getting
yeah.
it from 7-Eleven,
Mhm.
which is more which is more affordable than actual fast food. So like there is something there where it's like, okay, I'm having like a adequate sandwich and I'm not breaking the bank.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you putting the Italian job at?
Several.
Several.
I
You knew that joke was gonna happen.
I did. I absolutely knew.
Shit.
Uh,
But yeah.
okay. Well, with that, I think we can move on to confessionals now, unless anyone else has anything else they want to talk about of these previous two episodes.
Hmm.
No? Okay, we'll wait.
And he's done chewing Operation Italy.
Yeah. Any
No, it
second.
was
Isn't it crazy how it always takes you longer to chew and like you feel like you're being watched? Like when you want to.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like that always happens.
My throat like stops and is like, this is going down extra slow.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm about to talk or like if I'm in a conversation with someone. But no, I was about to say, yes, we're going in doing the confessional counts because we value screen time on this channel.
Oh, of course you do.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, we're gonna talk about first the three people who went out here, starting with Caroline, with 35 confessionals. Ending exactly at the Banu level of last season. So not very good to be at
No,
the to not crack the Banu 35.
That's
literally
interesting.
triple the amount of episodes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's our metric a lot of times. Like you gotta at least get more than Bonu's 35 if you're in like the deep part of the game.
Yeah, that's interesting. I
Yes,
feel like
yes.
she got a decent amount, but I guess not. I don't
No,
really pay attention to stuff like that.
yeah, she has a lot of like she's been in every episode, but like getting like one or two confessionals.
Mm.
So that's what's
Hmm.
Yeah.
happened there. Andy, went out at 6, ends with 70 confessionals or severalty. Uh,
Severanty.
yeah,
Severalty. We'll
severalty.
workshop
Yeah,
it. You think I had an entire year to figure out how to say it? That's my
yeah.
bad.
So pretty good edit for him. And then Genevieve went out with 62 confessionals. So pretty good. She had like a really slow edit. The first three episodes, she was essentially not in the show, and then just
Hmm.
like had this huge spike. Episode 4 onwards.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
remember one of the early episodes they said something about like somebody was talking about Genevieve and I was like, there's a Genevieve on this season. Like I truly had no idea she even existed. And then a few episodes later she was my favorite player. So I was
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
it's crazy how it ebbs and flows as the season goes on.
If she
yeah.
wasn't my winner pick, she wouldn't have been on my radar. Because I do this show, I do pay attention a little bit to everyone. But
Hmm.
like
Mhm.
especially if you have like skin in the game and like they're your winner pick, you pay a little bit more attention. And if they're not getting the screen time that garners a winner. Listen, screen time is important when it comes to these. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
uh, but it makes you a little worried. The last two, to kind of give you a frame rate, the last two drafts we did, my person went home at the 13th spot, and sometimes it was a little apparent that they weren't going to make it far into this game because of their edit. So
Mm.
edit is
Yeah.
important. Edit is
Yeah.
very.
And if you drafted first, you would have gotten another person who went out at 13.
That would have been the case. So thank you, Joe, for being cocky and arrogant.
Yeah.
Joe,
Yeah.
who is your draft pick that made it the furthest? Who is the 10th of your nine?
It was Gabe.
Oh, okay. He
And
made
he
it
and he
decently
was my
far.
last pick.
I thought he
Guess
was
who?
gonna go a lot earlier than he did, actually. I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
Guess who was my last pick?
Sue.
Rachel.
Really?
Well, preseason, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I wasn't sure. I feel like I was like, I think she might be pegged as a smart player early on, and then like people will be gunning for her. But yeah, Sue was actually top because I read her bio and I was like, oh, I love this woman. I think she's gonna be great TV. There were a few people that were like, there were like six people where I could see win. Some of those
Yeah.
I was definitely wrong about.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe, for
Yeah.
taking them.
I just want
But
to say this is now the second time, by the way, Ryan, that you have won because we both drafted terribly. This is the same instance with
you
Gabler.
te you drafted terribly.
Yeah,
You drafted
but
terribly.
you also never drafted Rachel until the end.
But
I
So
you
thought Rachel was
drafted
going to be a
terribly.
very like middle of the road player. Like I didn't think she
yeah,
was going to be bad, but I didn't think she was going to be good. Going into the season, I was like, she's fine. Like, and then the
yeah,
Mhm.
first few episodes, like I said, she kind of bothered me. So I was like, I'm
yeah.
ready for her to go
Well,
home.
she
I
she
never
just
thought I'd be a Rachel fan, but here I
yeah.
am.
Yeah, she just seemed outwardly strategic, which typically and because I didn't think she could win challenges, I was like clearly in the middle part of the game, like at some point they're just gonna say, so we're doing Rachel, right?
Hmm.
Which happened at Final Six, it did happen. Because she had an idol, she could negate that moment happening. Um, but
Even
yeah,
Final Seven really is the first time they were talking about it.
yeah.
It was like
And
seven, and then she won six, and then she had the idol. It's just like all these
yeah,
things.
the safety without power moments where she almost didn't make
Oh
the
yeah.
jury. There's definitely a lot going against her.
Yeah. She
Um,
also has the really good shot in the dark play. Like I feel like that
mhm,
was a shining
Yeah.
for her.
yeah,
A weird shot in the dark play, but like it worked for her. And
yeah,
it's like one that people continue to talk about.
exactly,
Well,
exactly.
because like um because it was like a way to suss out everything, I wonder going forward if that's something, if someone just randomly plays a shot in the dark when it doesn't make sense, if they actually have an idol. I wonder if because of that move that Rachel did, that some people might be a little bit more weary of people playing shot in the darks out of left field.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see. Back to confessionals here. The person with the most confessionals going into the final episode is Sam with 83 confessionals. I
Interesting.
believe he is two behind Charlie, who currently has the record for confessionals in the new era. Um, likely that he'll end up breaking that if he gets at least three confessionals, which should happen.
Yeah, I don't think there's, if you don't get a single confessional during the finale, there's definitely some, that's not even a fault on
Yeah.
you. That is just straight up the editors have failed.
Yeah, they're gonna have a full hour. So they're gonna do a half hour to get the
Mhm.
first four or the final four fire making stuff
Yeah.
going on, and then a half hour. So I mean I feel like minimum everyone in the game will at least get three.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even if you're the one that goes out of fire.
I think the only person that didn't get it, and you can probably look this up, the only person that didn't get a confessional at finale, actually, there's two, Sari and then also Eric Reinbacher in Answers favorites too. I think those are the
Yeah.
only two
Did he?
Sari didn't get one. That's interesting.
because it we went into finale when they were doing fire.
Mhm.
So like, unless they count the whole thing
Mm.
of like, their like little exit thing, the little 15 seconds of like, yeah, I got
Yeah.
got, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Second, no surprise, is Rachel with 78 confessionals. I think there's a good chance that she does end up she might even pass Sam if they give her just another crazy edit. She wins immunity, puts herself in the fire. Maybe she does some like crazy stuff just
No,
for the shits and
she
giggles.
doesn't need to.
I know
Don't do things for shits and giggles. It will bite you in the ass.
but it will be fun. I want to be surprised. I want
Mm.
so yeah, she's second there. Next up is Teeny with 64 confessionals. And then last going into this is Sue with 50 confessionals.
That's quite the dip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sue having that much more than Caroline surprises me though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well,
this
me.
episode she got 11, which
That
definitely
bumped her
was
up.
yeah, yeah. That's what yeah, it was 39. So essentially after when Caroline went home, she only had 39 to Caroline's 35, so it was
That
pretty
makes sense.
close. Yeah.
And then she had a lot about how she keeps losing her allies.
Yeah. Which, if she plays the idol at 7, saves Caroline, I
I
think
wish she
I,
did.
I I think I think that's like the resume move that could have at least given her credibility.
Her playing it on herself at Final Five, I was like, this is so lackluster.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
sometimes you're just playing the advantage just to keep yourself safe, and like,
Uh,
so I don't fully blame her, but at the same
Yeah.
time,
yeah. It's the
there
thing.
definitely was a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's the thing. There's aggressive players and there's passive players. Passive players just care about making it to the end. Sometimes that works out for them. Sometimes it can work. Whereas aggressive players care more about making sure that they get to the end in their means and have a better way to get there with who they are against. Sue, I do think is very much a passive player. I thought she was going to be way more aggressive. She came into the season like her
Yeah,
favorite player was Tony Vlachos,
Hmm.
which is a flipper, by the way. She was complaining about Annie flipping all the time. Her favorite player is a notorious flipper. Uh,
yeah,
and she was like, I want to be a villain. And she just kind of ended up not doing that. So I think there's like signs like early on that she wanted. And then at a certain point, I think she just was like, you know what? I'm just going to be the loyal player. And she just kind of
Hmm.
took that role.
Yeah.
yeah. The dirtiest thing she did was,
Have all that
just
mud on
yeah,
her face.
exactly. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
dirtiest thing she did in the game.
Oh my God, I don't understand that. Every
Uh,
time she's on screen, I'm like, I just want to wash your face.
Yeah, my favorite part was when she told Caroline that she has some dirt on her face.
Get me too. That was so funny. I was like, have you looked in a mirror? So do you. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess not, but oh, it's so bad.
Uh,
yeah,
I can't wait for her to do like the big reveal that she's not actually 42 years old or
yeah,
whatever she told
yeah,
"45," and
us.
everyone is just like, there's a moment of silence, and they're like,
We know.
"Yeah, we know."
yeah,
I'm excited for that to play out. Like,
yeah.
have her think she's gonna like shock everybody.
I know.
Yeah,
It's what we wanted with Sammy in season 43 about him actually being 19. And like we wanted this big like reveal moment, which never happened until the reunion show. I think we are going to get it though at Final Trial because I do see her making it there.
hmm,
Hmm.
I just say I don't see any scenario where she goes out of fire. I just feel like she is being taken by everyone right now to the end.
yeah. I don't even
You
think
think she throws herself into fire if she somehow
no.
pulls
I
out
don't
immunity?
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
she's
so
that kind of
either.
player. She's not that player.
I don't think so
Why would
either.
she
But
gamble? Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that would be the only like there's like a 0.005% chance that she does, but it's pretty slim. No one
Yeah.
else is sending her in.
Yeah, I think if she wins, that's the only scenario that we see a Sam Rachel fire making challenge. I think
yeah.
any other scenario is one of them is in and one of them is in final three.
You can see that.
Yeah. I actually I see Teeny. I do see Teeny as someone who would put themselves into fire. Um, with the perception that they're not having this great game so far, and having to make a resume move against Rachel. Um, so that's the only so even with Teeny, I don't see a Sam Rachel fire making.
It depends on how scared, you know, they are in the moment.
Yeah,
Because sometimes like you don't want to compromise that. But I think,
yeah,
I mean, she's been playing Ord, she understands like, and she's a huge Survivor fan, so it's like obviously they know that it's like that could be the thing, but it's like you're also worried too because it's your one shot to be on. For a lot of these people, it's their one shot to be on Survivor. And it's like,
yeah,
do I do that move? Like, what if I don't get on again?
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you go in and you lose, I think that you would actually more likely get brought back than if you just simply won immunity and then got to the end and then didn't get votes. Um, I like make the move and then go out because then Liz, for instance, can say like I almost won Survivor. Even though
mhm.
in this last season, like she wasn't winning that game.
You leave her alone. She and I bonded a lot in Over the Edge.
She
Uh,
was so sweet.
Yeah,
she and
yeah.
I were in line to get BB signatures because her daughter was a big Big Brother fan.
Mhm.
So we talked a lot. She's cool.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that, but still, Charlie or Kenzie was more likely to win than Liz in that scenario. But
Yeah.
because she ends up going out in fire, she can now kind of like say like I could have won in this scenario. This could have been my speech. So I actually think there's more chance that Liz returns than, for instance, let's say Ben. I don't think Ben's necessarily going to be like on their returning list because he just won immunity, got to the end, got 0 votes, and didn't
Yeah.
make the big move that he
Yeah.
potentially could have had the opportunity. Like Survivor loves people who are
Hmm.
willing to take the risk. Um,
But has anyone given up to do fire and has lost yet?
yeah,
We
well, that's what
haven't.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
hasn't happened, which actually, if it ends up happening, I mean, it's going to be one of the most talked about moments of Survivor.
Yes. Yes.
And even if it's a bad moment, the Eric Reichenbach giving up immunity at Final Five, one of the most talked about moments ever. James going out with 2 idols, one of the most talked about moments ever. This is what gets people to like potentially want to bring them back later because now they have a story. They have something that they can
Hmm.
now talk about this player in a future season.
Hmm.
I see you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have now gotten to the last section of the podcast. Going here. We are now going to talk about MVP and LVP of both Operation Italy and Finale Part 1. Uh, MVP for Operation Italy for me is absolutely Andy. Move does not happen without him. He came up with the plan.
Hmm.
And even though he does go out 6, it absolutely gave him the potential like resume move that would have given him a chance to win if he gets to the end.
I agree.
I'm gonna say the viewers. Viewers were the MVP for both episodes, but yes, that aside, if we're talking about an actual player, it was definitely Andy because it pulled off one of the best blindsides. Um, Definitely a new era, but like it's up there when it comes to like Survivor,
Yeah.
where it was just
Hmm.
like so many things had to align. It seemed damn near impossible, but the Italian job worked. Operation Italy worked.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then I would probably give LVP to Caroline, knowing now that she told Sue not to play the idol. Um, so she did she had the way out and chose not to
Yeah.
use it.
And then also to kind of like expand upon what you said about like, oh, she thought it would have been sus to like talk about that or whisper during tribal. It's like it's better than going home.
Yeah,
Right.
Awkward
exactly.
moment.
I'd rather be sus and stay in the
Yeah,
game.
Yeah.
yeah. And that's I think the thing is that she was definitely not playing the game out there for TV, which is why we probably didn't see as much of her in
Hmm.
terms of the confessionals. I think like for me, for instance, I know that if I think there's something dangerous and someone could save me, I'm absolutely getting up there because I know that it's also a TV moment. Like I know that now,
Hmm.
it adds drama to the moments. She wanted to almost be drama adverse. Like let's just be, right down the middle, which does win you some games, but also if people have any kind of chaotic energy like Annie does, I mean, it's could easily be your demise.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I feel like you could also make a case for Teeny being LVP of that
Hmm.
episode just
Yeah.
because of, I mean, I can't speak because I'm also a very emotional player, but I feel like emotions kind of got the best of them that
Sure.
round. And it
Yeah.
was like just immediately like anti-Sam, and that was like all that they were focused on in that moment. And I
Hmm.
think if they like weren't so hyper fixated and like thought a little more clearly, that round could have gone differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Um, and then for this finale, I mean, it's Rachel as MVP for me, just out without hands down.
Hands
For
down,
the,
no
the
cap.
this was just the Rachel. Here you go. Let's let you win the game. Just absolute, like everything that you
Hmm.
need to do as a positive is in this episode.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Both rounds for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. LVP. The thing is, it's like I'd say it's tough because the two people that went out, I feel like even though Andy made a mistake, I don't think it warrants LVP.
No.
Because I feel like he was just like in a bad situation because he did blindside or betray Rachel in the previous round. Um, and with Genevieve, it's like she played her outs, and it did cause like chaos and confusion. And also, we'll say a little cheat in the edit where it did seem like the vote was going to be on Sam, and it did seem like Teeny was like, "Hey, are we sure about this? Are we sure she doesn't have a idol?" And like Rachel and Sue was telling them, it was like, no, it's like this is this.
Hmm.
There's a little like all that like kind of chaos and like kind of like confusion. Um, so I don't know. I might say LVP might go to Sue because in the sense of like I don't see her winning in the game in any scenario, which I know I feel mean saying that, but it's like I also am like if I'm comparing it to everyone else, and especially when there's two other people, it's like I feel like there's merit for Sam. I feel like there's merit for Rachel.
Right.
Teeny, Teeny, like if it was the final two and it was even if it was the final two, I feel like Teeny beats out Sue.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think it might be close because like if Teeny, it gets called out on too many of her losses throughout the game, then maybe it goes into Sue's favor a bit more. But yeah,
I feel like that would be a terrible outcome if I don't do it
it
between
would.
the
It
two.
It
would.
Because
would.
Don't
it's
get me
like
wrong.
Yeah.
Teeny who like tried really hard and just had bad luck and constantly was like left out of plans.
Yeah.
Or Sue who was in on the plans but like not controlling any of them. She was just like following whatever was
Yeah.
happening with the game.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I feel like neither of those would be a game I would want to reward.
If either of them win,
Yeah.
this season goes from like a top 15 season to like a bottom team. like just the like what happened, editors? Like
This might, yeah, this might be a top 10 season for me, I'll be honest. If Rachel wins, it is definitely top 10 for me.
yeah. I don't know. I just like it's so weird because like Rachel has clearly played the best game out there right
Yeah.
now. But it's just so it's been so clear now for like these last few episodes, and now like all the people who could oppose her are out. So now it definitely to me, I'm just like I just want the season to be over now. But just hurry it up. Let's get the
This will
season through.
be, this might have a permanent spot because of the draft. I'm not gonna lie. Because it was so
Yeah.
satisfying to watch
Yeah.
you collapse and crumble.
That's why this is a bottom 10 season because of the draft. It was the wrong 10 people went home first. Just saying.
You know? But yeah.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I think that's everything. Adrian, where would you place this on your list of like Survivor seasons?
I mean, it's by far the best of the new era.
Yeah.
Overall, I'd say probably top 15,
Yeah.
Mhm.
maybe top 10. I don't know. It would be close.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure 10 yet. I mean, we'll have to
The
see,
final
obviously.
episode, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see, especially give it some time afterwards, because I do think Operation Italy for me, is like a top 10 episode of Survivor. Like, I actually think it's like,
Yeah.
I thought it was just so well done.
Mm-hmm.
One of the great moves that I think we'll be talking about for the next 20 years. I think people are going to look fondly on Operation Italy. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's created legends out of Andy, Sam, and Genevieve. I think those three are now linked to this amazing move in Survivor history.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I think there's definitely merit for it being high. Um, but yeah, we'll have to see kind of like how if it's just like recency bias of like, oh, we were enjoying it in the
Right.
time,
I feel like
or
it's hard to rank right now, especially
yeah,
not knowing the outcome. Because if
yeah,
Rachel
Yeah.
does go out at 4, like I think that changes the whole
yeah,
perception of
It
like,
does. It does. A winner, like sometimes it's like the ending of your story can either make or break the story. And
mm,
so, yeah, I mean, that's why Guatemala is a bottom five, bottom 10 season for me because I'm like, I did not want Danny Boatwright to win. I was like, no, Stephanie.
yeah.
And I would have been okay if Rafe win. In fact, like, depending on the day, I've been like, yeah, Rafe should have won that season. But I was just like, with Danny Boatwright, I was like, no.
It's because she wasn't taking screen time, so that's why Ryan doesn't like Danny
mm,
Boatwright. Danny Boatwright was known for not telling production anything because she didn't want them to potentially give away any secrets of what her game was.
Screen time is important, Joe. It's how we
it
connect.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that does it. Thank you so much, Adrienne. I don't know if you want to shout out any of your socials or anything that you got going on, any games that you're playing.
I am playing none right now. I've one and done for
Uh,
now. Maybe
yeah.
you'll see me in the future.
No, not done. Not done. You got your
No, I
W.
definitely want to play some Survivor. I don't think I'm cut out for Big Brother, so
Are you? You are. No, you totally are.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
be like, no. You made it top four in your first ever like season of Big Brother.
Yeah.
No.
That is pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen to us six placers, like
yeah,
that's
Yeah.
yeah. I beat Ryan, so I guess I'm not too bad.
Actually, it's quite a few people have beat Ryan, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to play Survivor, Vanquish. I've been asked to play a few others, but currently am declining, so we'll see
yeah.
what comes along. But
mhm.
Yeah. It's interesting once you play a Survivor Vanquish game, like a lot of people start reaching out.
Yeah, because they're one
yeah,
of the biggest and best, so that's why.
Yeah.
yeah, I've been asked by like 2 or 3 others, and I'm like, I don't know. I think
Mhm.
I need a little bit of a break.
Yeah, that's the best way, especially when you play long games, like long orgs. Like you need a break because I mean, doing it for like a month or for you guys 3 weeks,
Yeah,
like it is huge time commitments. Very emotional too,
Yeah,
because the
yeah,
game gets pretty intense.
it
So
does. I
yeah,
didn't realize like how much went into it beforehand. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
it'll be like an hour or two a night of like being on the Zoom, but I was like, oh no, it is like 24/7.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
lot. I
yeah,
had a blast, but it was a
yeah.
lot for sure. So
Yeah, and being on the West Coast for us, like, I was always having to wake up early to make sure I'm there for like, especially like the good morning chats. Oh, when everyone is doing these good morning chats, like, it feels like you got to be there. Otherwise, people are going to be like, well,
yeah.
screw this guy for not saying good morning every day.
Uh, yeah. 2 and 2 orgs is the same, but also like I had to like part of the reason why it took me forever to even do a long form one was because of my work schedule,
Yeah.
and like this is one of the things where, all right, my boss. for my Christmas light job was flexible enough to let me at least, get out early, come home for the challenges, and be on the Zoom. So like that's another thing for West Coasters as well. It's like if you have like a regular like job that may end up at like 5 or 6, you're kind of a little SOL too. And also in
Mm-hmm.
the
Mhm.
sense of like socializing before, the challenges slash like the vote to evict and stuff, where
Yeah.
you might be a little left out because like you don't have the same amount of time as someone that's on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Things they
But
don't have to worry about in the real game. Time zone differences.
exactly.
yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah.
hard part of the online version for sure.
Or
But
putting a roof over your head because there is no roof over your head.
Yeah.
No one has a roof.
Yeah,
true,
definitely,
true.
definitely. Okay, well that does it here for this episode. Hope everyone enjoyed this episode and we will see you all in the next one.
Peace.